I've watched Breaking Bad more times than I care to admit, and every time I finish it, I'm left with the same uncomfortable feeling. We all know the story. Walter White starts as a mild-mannered chemistry teacher, transforms into a ruthless drug lord, and destroys everything and everyone around him in the process. But here's what I have come to realize after all those rewatches. Walter White wasn't the monster father we think he was. In fact, he might have been better at it than most of us. I mean, everyone agrees on one thing. Walter White is a monster. He's selfish, he's manipulative, and he used his family as justification for his empire. That's the mainstream take, and honestly, it's not wrong. But what if I told you that Walter White was also a genuinely loving father? What if both of those things are true at the same time? What if we've been so focused on his crimes that we've completely overlooked the consistent, undeniable evidence of his paternal devotion? I'm not here to defend Walter's actions. I'm not going to argue that cooking meth was justified or that his lies were acceptable. What I am going to argue is something much simpler and much more human. Walter White loved his children deeply, and that love was real, even while everything else about him was falling apart. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've heard the arguments. You've watched the finale. You know that Walter himself admits he did it for him, not for his family. Before we go any further, I want to acknowledge the strongest version of the case against me. By the way, if this is the kind of analysis you're looking for, please subscribe to the channel. I am aiming for 1,000 subscribers by March. Okay, let's now start with the common narrative. Vince Gilligan, Breaking Bad's showrunner, himself has said that Walter's primary motivation was ego, not family. The show presents Walter's "I did it for my family" excuse as the lie he tells himself, and the evidence seems clear. After his family is financially secure, Walter keeps cooking. He lies to Skylar repeatedly. He destroys her life, his children's lives, and everyone who gets close to him. By the end of the series, his family is in witness protection, traumatized, and broken. How could anyone argue that Walter loved them? But here's the thing, though. I'm not going to argue with that interpretation. It's intelligent, it's defensible, and it's supported by the text. But I'm going to argue that it's incomplete. And the incompleteness is where the real story lives. As I said earlier, Walter can be both selfish and a loving father. These aren't contradictory ideas. They're the human condition. We're all capable of holding multiple truths about ourselves at the same time. We can love our children while also making terrible choices. We can be devoted parents and terrible people. The show itself is built on this complexity, and yet we keep trying to reduce Walter to a single motivation. Let me show you what I mean. Think about the breakfast scenes. If you've watched Breaking Bad, you know what I'm talking about. Throughout the entire series, there are these quiet moments where Walter is making breakfast for Walt Jr. These aren't dramatic scenes, they're not plot-heavy. They're just Walter in the kitchen, making his son's breakfast. And in every single one of these scenes, Walter is patient. He's attentive, he's present. He's not thinking about his empire or his next cook, he's focused on his son. Walt Jr. has cerebral palsy, and Walter never, not once, treats him differently because of it. There's no frustration, no impatience. When Walt Jr. struggles with something, Walter helps. When he accomplishes something, Walter is genuinely proud. This isn't the behavior of someone who doesn't care about his son. This is the behavior of a father who loves his child. And then there's the car wash. Walter is humiliated at a car wash. He's washing cars for minimum wage while his former colleagues are running a successful company. It's degrading. It's beneath him, and yet he does it. Why? Because his family needs money. He's willing to endure public humiliation to provide for them. That's not the action of a selfish man. That's the action of a man who loves his family more than he loves his own dignity. When Holly is born, something shifts in Walter. He holds his newborn daughter and talks about the future he's going to build for her. He's not thinking about his empire yet. He's thinking about his daughter's life, her opportunities, her safety. In that moment, Walter is a father thinking about his child's future. That's real. That's genuine. Now, here's something the show itself tells us about what it means to be a father. In Season 3, Gus Fring sits down with Walter in the underground lab and says something that cuts right to the heart of fatherhood.
A man provides for his family, and he does it even when he's not appreciated or respected.
Call it Gus's classic manipulation technique, if you will, but it perfectly explains Walt's position at the moment. And here's what I think we miss. Yes, Walter eventually becomes consumed by his own ego. Yes, he continues cooking long after his family is secure. Yes, he lies and manipulates and destroys. But none of that erases the years of genuine sacrifice and care that came before. A person can love their children deeply and still make terrible choices. These things don't cancel each other out. Think about how Walter compares to real deadbeat fathers. How many fathers abandon their kids entirely? How many are abusive or neglectful? How many don't even know their children's names? Walter is present. He's engaged. He's thinking about his children's welfare constantly. Even at his worst, he's trying to protect them. Even when his empire is crumbling, his first instinct is to keep his family safe. That doesn't excuse his actions, but it contextualizes his fatherhood in a way we often ignore. Then there's the ending. In the final episode, when everything has fallen apart, when Walter's empire is destroyed and he's dying, what does he do? He arranges for $9.7 million to be passed to his children through his former business partners. He sets up an irrevocable trust to ensure Walt Jr. and Holly are provided for. Even at the very end, even when he has nothing left, his instinct is to provide for his family. That's not the action of a man who didn't care. That's the action of a father who loved his children so much that he couldn't stop providing for them, even as he was taking his last breath. Now, I know the counterarguments. People will say that Walter's actions destroyed his family, so his love was meaningless. But that's not how love works. You can love someone and hurt them. You can be devoted to your children and still cause them tremendous harm. That's the tragedy of Walter's story. His love was real, his choices were catastrophic. Both things are true. Others will point out that Walter kept cooking after his family was secure, which proves it was about ego, not family. And they're right that Walter's motivation became corrupted. But does that negate the years of genuine sacrifice? Does one selfish decision erase a lifetime of paternal care? And does that deny that Walter was still trying to protect his family even in those moments? I don't think so. Motivation is complex. People change. Walter changed. But that doesn't mean his love wasn't real. That's what makes Breaking Bad so powerful. It refuses to let us dismiss Walter as purely evil. It shows us that good and evil exist in the same person. That love and destruction can coexist. Here's what I think the show is actually telling us. Walter White was a loving father who made catastrophic choices. He genuinely cared about his children's welfare and made terrible decisions to ensure that. He was devoted to providing for them while also being consumed by his own ego. He was a man capable of tremendous love and tremendous cruelty at the same time. We want to reduce him to one thing. We want to say he was either a loving father or a selfish drug lord. But Walter was both. And that's what makes him such a compelling character. He's not a villain who happens to have children. He's a father whose love for his children is real and undeniable, even as he becomes a villain. So here's my argument. Walter White was a better father than we give him credit for. Not a good father, a better one. He was present when he could have been absent. He was patient when he could have been cruel. He sacrificed his dignity for his family's security. He thought about his children's future even as he was destroying it. He loved them. That love was real, and that distinction matters. We can acknowledge Walter's crimes while refusing to deny his humanity. Walter White was a loving father. He was also a drug lord who destroyed many families. Both things are true. And maybe that's the most important lesson Breaking Bad has to teach us. Let me know if you agree with me in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel if you liked the video. See you in the next one.